Hi everyone, Pommy here. Today I'm going to talk about running CertCache in standalone mode. CertCache normally runs in a server-client configuration. CertCache server acts as a cache and serves certificates to CertCache clients that request them. But when there is no server, CertCache runs in standalone mode, and it can get certificates directly from Let's Encrypt. This allows you to get the benefits of using the bundled standalone DNS server for DNS01 validation, but you lose the benefits of the cache, which means that you're restricted to the Let's Encrypt usage limits. But this might be fine for smaller sites that don't have a cluster of server instances that all need to have a certificate. So let's walk through the entire process of creating a secure web server running Nginx using a wildcard certificate in CertCache standalone mode. So step 1, instantiate a server. So for this I'm going to use Linode, but you can use whatever you're familiar with. I'm going to instantiate a server in London that's running Debian 10, but you can choose any distro that can run Docker. I know Linode has some pre-built Docker images, but I want to create this walkthrough for anyone using any hosting company. I have a unique password for this demo. After you instantiate a server, you should get an IP address, and you need to create a DNS-A record that points your domain to this IP. So I'm going to copy the IP address of my server instance. The domain that I'm going to be running a secure site on is 93m.co.uk. So I need to edit this domain's DNS in the management console. I'm going to create a new A record for the root of my domain that points to the IP address of my server instance. I'm also going to create a CNAME record with a wildcard domain that points to the root of the domain to demonstrate the wildcard certificate. Next, I need to install Docker and docker-compose. So if you follow the links in the documentation. Now I instantiated Linux-based VPS and it was Debian. So if you scroll down, there's a convenient script. So let's SSH into our new VPS using the root password. I'm going to paste in the commands to install Docker using the convenient script. So while that's going, let's move on to step 2. Now, as it says in the documentation, CertCache includes a standalone DNS server, which means you do not need to configure and supply any DNS API credentials. DNS01 validation can be performed simply by configuring your domain's DNS records as follows. Create an A record for certcache.yourdomain that points to your server instance. That means I need to create an A record for certcache.93m.co.uk that points to the IP address of my server instance. Create an NS record for acme.certcache.yourdomain that points to certcache.yourdomain. That means I need to create an NS record for acme.certcache.93m.co.uk that points to certcache.93m.co.uk. Then finally, create a CNAME record for _acme-challenge.yourdomain that points to yourdomain.acme.certcache.yourdomain. That means creating a CNAME record for acmechallenge.93m.co.uk that points to 93m.co.uk.acme.certcache.93m.co.uk. Okay, now that the DNS is set up, let's see if Docker has installed on our instance. Great. Now we still need to install docker-compose, so follow the link in the documentation. We need to follow instructions for Linux. Let's paste the command into the SSH terminals of the VPS and also chmod. Great, now we have docker-compose installed. Okay, step 3, create a docker-compose file. Create a new directory to hold your Docker Compose file. I'll put mine in /var/docker/certcache-standalone. And then create a new file named docker-compose.yml and copy and paste in the Docker Compose config. You need to change the CertCache certbot email to the email address you provide to certbot for important account notifications. This is for notifications about things like expiring certificates. Also, replace the placeholders in the CertCache certs environment variable. So they will be 93m.co.uk and star.93m.co.uk. Next, create an Nginx config file inside the directory that contains the docker-compose.yml file. Let's create this directory first, then create the config file. You'll notice it creates an insecure site that forwards all requests to the secure site. And for this demo, the secure site serves static content from /var/www. That was a volume that was mapped in docker-compose.yml to the www directory on the host. So create a directory named www in the docker-compose directory and copy the HTML and create a new file named index.html. Paste in the HTML and save the file. Finally, all that's left to do is docker compose up-d. Now when this initially happens, because there will be no certificates on the file system, the Nginx container will generate an error and it will restart. So if you run docker ps, you'll see the container is failing. It takes about 20 seconds to get the certificates from Let's Encrypt. So when the certificates are on disk, the Nginx container should start up. So finally, you should now be able to open a browser and view your secure website, and it should be accessible on the main domain, but also in any subdomain, for example, www or anything else. So that's how to create a wildcard domain using DNS01 validation using CertCache. Hopefully it'll lower the bar for people who want to obtain a wildcard DNS01 certificate but don't have a supported DNS provider. Props to the author of the certbot-dns-standalone plugin for creating something that allows people to validate challenges without having to use a custom certbot-DNS plugin and create DNS API credentials. Finally, I just want to point out that because we set up DNS the way that we did, it makes it easy to migrate to CertCache server in the future. Doing this will allow us to avoid Let's Encrypt usage limits. There's information about how to do this at the bottom of the README. And that's it. Thanks for your time. Have a great day. Pommy out.